welcome to Ridiculously Happy People Cast and our season recap for season 1. This is exciting. I'm Sophia Lemon, and I have Nikki O with me. How are you, Nikki?
I'm doing great. Sophia, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, I think.
Good.
You said you have an update for me, so now I'm on the edge of my seat.
I do. Yeah, so as you know, my sister and I, who's also my business partner, we have our weekly team meetings, which is how we try to separate our personal life from our business life, which is great. So we met yesterday and we made some really awesome plans. We are working to scale Ava kind of behind the scenes. So we've had a lot of interest with potential clients from overseas. So we are working to build up a consultant roster to match with onboarding new clients that I do not have the capacity or necessarily the skill set to work with, but that we can match them with consultants that will. So we're super excited about getting the gears going there and growing that way.
Well, that's cool.
Lots of fun stuff. Lots of more work to do.
Well,
yeah.
You were a part of our last episode, so I already know that you are dedicated to managing your time effectively.
Absolutely. Yes. And this will help me to do so in the long run. So very exciting.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Well, in case you haven't noticed, I am well caffeinated, but so tired because I've had quite the week, or a couple of weeks, as it turned out. Because last weekend I was playing ball and then went right into a super busy week. So I'm just about ready to take the weekend off.
Happy it's Thursday.
And I have absolutely nothing in my calendar for the weekend.
Yay!
Absolutely
That's
nothing.
Awesome.
Not
Good.
one thing. And I'm keeping it that way. I'm planning on sleeping the whole time.
Good.
That's not going to happen. No. But I will force myself to not work. But I have a calendar full of stuff to do today, finishing off with 2 ball games this evening. So
wow.
We're going out with a bang.
Yeah. And then rest.
And then I'm going to get fast food and I'm going to go home and I'm going to eat it. And then I'm going to sleep.
Good.
And then tomorrow I'm going to pretend like I'm a healthy person. Oh my goodness. So as I mentioned right at the beginning of this episode, this is our season 1 recap.
Yeah.
How do you think season 1 went, Nikki?
I think it went well overall. I think it was, for me, it was definitely an interesting learning curve. First time I've ever done something like this. So I got over my jitters the first couple episodes, I think. I think we talked about some really awesome topics that, while they're coming more to the forefront, they're still a little bit taboo behind the scenes. So I'm really excited that we're bringing those to light and making it okay to talk about those things. So, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
The other thing I think I find with a lot of it, and we'll get into the episodes, is a lot of the things that might be a little bit taboo to talk about. People might be talking about them, but then also not necessarily from their own perspective.
Yeah.
Their own experience. You were saying that you had to get over your jitters at the beginning, but I have been listening to our episodes and I can say that you speak way better on the podcast than I do, that I am so disjointed and lots of pauses, and I speak faster than other times and I'll speak slower other times, and my volume changes, and I promise I will work on it.
I'm going to attribute that for me to 12 years of using my phone voice when I'm talking to clients.
There you go.
So I'm going to pull that skill out for sure.
And as we have discussed, I don't like talking on the phone.
No.
This might be my problem. Well, I thought we would just start with going over the episodes that we have put out so far. So just a recap of the episodes that we've done. So we started out our first episode was just introductions to us and then what this whole ridiculously happy thing is all about. And I really think people should listen to that one because I think it's important to understand, it's not about making yourself look like you're happy all the time, but recognizing that you are not going to be happy all the time, but you can be happy through everything. And some important stuff, I think.
Absolutely. I think our topics fit that perfect.
And feel free to chime in anytime as I am going through these episodes. And then our second episode was on gratitude and mindfulness. So making sure that we are taking a mental stock of all of the stuff in our lives that we have to be happy for. And I mean, not all of it all at once, but, making a point of recognizing even when times are tough that we have things to be grateful for, which we absolutely do. If you have to go as far as saying, I can breathe, I can walk,
Yeah, start at the bare minimum.
Yeah. Always have things to be grateful for. And mindfulness, recognizing your feelings first and reacting to them second. And by that, I mean responding to them, not reacting. Respond.
Yeah, I think that is huge. Like recognizing how you're feeling and why you're feeling it, and then acting from there.
Rather than reacting based on feelings. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And then self-image and the dangers of social media. And I have finally remembered the name of the documentary that I had mentioned in that show. And I'm going to say it, and everyone's going to be like, oh, of course. The Social Dilemma. And that is linked in that episode, in the show notes for that episode. And I think everyone should go watch it and then think very hard about how important social media is to you. Use it as a tool rather than as
lifeline.
Reality. Yeah.
That's actually, so since we did that episode, so it's been like a little over a week, right? So every time I'm on social media now, I'm like way more conscious of what I'm doing and how I'm using it. And even with how long I'm on it, like I'll be maybe 5 minutes, I'll be like, okay, and that's enough. Like I'm so much more aware since we had that conversation. So that's awesome.
Do you use the screen time stuff on your phone to like look at what you're looking at, what you're doing on your phone?
I don't, but I should. Or maybe I should be afraid to.
It's a little bit alarming sometimes.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't spend a whole lot of time on social media, but yeah, it's so easy to fall down the rabbit hole. For me, I fall down the rabbit hole of like the dodo videos, which is like feel good videos about cats and dogs and stuff. So that's fine. But yeah, it can be such a mental and emotional drain to spend too much time on social media, just thinking that this is real. It's not real. Social media is not real. Get off of it.
Yeah, 100%.
As we post this episode to social media.
It's a tool. It's a tool.
For sure. Yes. True. So episode 4 was on mental health and coping strategies and all things that I am employing right now to deal with depression. I swear I'm totally having fast food tonight and I'm okay with it. So
that's okay. Do what you need to do.
But yeah, it's I said it in the episode. I still believe it. I really think that the entire planet is experiencing some collective PTSD at the moment. So like go out and shake someone's hand or give someone a hug, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought about this earlier too. I was having a conversation with someone and we recognize that with kids on the spectrum, for example, that squeezing them might, when they are having, a difficult time, squeezing them might help their body relax. And by might, I mean scientifically it does. So we're coming out with like vests and stuff that can like inflate. Yeah. So like if they're having
blankets and stuff like that.
If they're having a tough time, they can cozy up and everything. And we didn't have weighted blankets before. We didn't have vests that inflated. We gave
Yeah.
people hugs. So, if you're having a tough time, go give someone a flippin' hug.
Yep.
Like a good
Makes a
one.
big difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
a good hug. Not this
Good
like
one.
soft, light nonsense. No. Like when I want to hug, like I want you to hug me. Like bear hug me. Yeah. It's always so awkward for me. I just automatically I always go in for a bear hug. Like and my in-laws are not bear hug people, so I'm like squeezing and they're like, this is nice. I'm like, oh sorry. We don't hug the same way.
I'm betting that they have more of a positive reaction to it than you think. Like on the inside, they're probably thinking, this is great. I am so awkward. Why am I hugging her like this?
Oh, it's so funny. It's probably true.
How it works.
Yeah.
And then our fifth episode, which I recorded with Shayna Beeksma, was about having tough conversations all around diversity, so heritage, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability, just everything, all of those things that you avoid saying because you're afraid that you're going to offend someone and then someone's going to scream at you. So how to screw up with your words and then just let the other person talk and listen to what they have to say and learn something, and don't take on their feelings as your own. Don't assume that because you hurt them that you're a bad person, or that they think that you're a bad person, or any of that stuff, because that's not true. And then number 6 is recognition and acknowledging others. Speaking of, we did recognize a friend of mine at that ball tournament the other week for being a good person, and we were just talking about hugs. And another friend of mine, Nicole, at that ball tournament, oh my god, does she ever give good hugs. So when I saw her, she gave me 2 just flippin' delightful ones where she gets like all in there and like she just wraps around you. It's pretty impressive.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so making a point of making sure you're recognizing the people around you when they're doing a good job, just as you would like them to do for you. And probably if you walk up to one of your friends and say, I really appreciate how you did this, they're going to be like, you too. And then you can feel good. And then our final episode was about family and priority management. And I think everything that we covered in this season kind of led towards the family and priority management thing, being, make sure that you are living your life the way that you want to. And if your family is your number one priority, then, live like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's exactly it. Like, pick your priority and build your life around that, as opposed to trying to squeeze your priorities into the life that you're already operating. Like, especially when it comes to a family, there's bound to be a shift when you expand your family, however you are expanding it. So to say that your core life isn't going to change and everything else is going to change to suit that just is not realistic. Whereas as your life evolves, as your priorities evolve, so should your life to suit them.
I have so much respect for these families who go, F this, and they build a tiny house and then they live in it with like their 4 kids. And I'm like, good on you. Not just because you're doing that and having a wonderful experience with your kid and teaching them like what is important in life and what is not, but because I'm sure 70 billion people have told them, oh my god, you're gonna live in that with your 4 kids.
Terrible idea.
Don't they want their privacy? And you know what, don't worry about those people. Live life the way it works for you, and do that.
Absolutely.
What did you like the most about this season?
I love talking about gratitude and mindfulness. I think that is something that in everyday life you can adjust to incorporate those things that we talked about, those tips about checking in with yourself and keeping a gratitude journal or a regular journal or mood journal, anything you want to keep, just to get your feelings out and down and maintain that like perspective that's important to you and that helps to keep you in line with what you're doing. I think that's such a genuine conversation that makes a big difference with minimal effort, which is great for busy people. Like, you don't have hours and hours and hours in a week to dedicate to a complete life overhaul, but you can take 10 minutes a day to be like, okay, how did my day go? How did I react to things? How do I want to react in future? And I think that can be huge in the long run. And then just start small, and then it becomes a routine, which is awesome. The big one I also really liked was recognition and acknowledging others. We talked a lot about how important that is to each of us individually in our business and personal lives. And it's something that I think once you bring to someone else's attention, it's very difficult for them to then ignore. Like, when you have that quick conversation about like, you know, I just wanted to recognize you for how hard you worked and how much I appreciated that. Like, it's very, I think easy for that person to turn around and go on to like to pay it forward, to go on to the next person and be like, hey, like I had this conversation earlier in the week and like it made a big difference. And I want you to know how much I appreciate you. Like, that is such a nice little string of kindness that can trickle down to so much. Yeah,
I agree.
Like, it was, so here's my example too. Like, I saw my sister last night helping my mom, and I've been telling her like what we're talking about, and she sees all the episodes and stuff coming up, and 3 separate times she's like, Nikki, I just wanted to recognize XYZ that you did, and I want you to know how much I appreciated those things that you did for me, and like it made a difference. And I was like, you're paying attention. Are you watching what we're doing? And she was like just a small thing saying like, oh, we're going to talk about recognition today. She was like, yeah, I should, like, let's talk about recognition. Like, it's a small little snip in a conversation that I'm maybe not paying attention to that I'm having with her. And then the impact that she can turn around and make on people by including it in her life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
That's really cool to hear. That might be my ridiculously happy moment.
Yay!
That's awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
For me, right now, I'm going through a lot of like figuring myself out stuff, as one does in their mid-30s. I'm literally halfway through them, so kind of entertaining how that's happening. And so I was really a fan of the gratitude and mindfulness stuff. Also, self-image and mental health, and all three of those things go together. Like, listen to those
for sure
in order.
In a row.
Because I mean, yeah, if you're struggling with mental health, probably a lot of it has to do with your self-image. And hey, just practicing a bit of gratitude and mindfulness can definitely help you get out of the negative thinking loops that you might be stuck in. And also, like, take a closer look at, you know, the stuff you're doing on social media or the accounts you're following or the ads that you're seeing. Like, how are those negatively affecting you? And is sitting on your butt all day in an office really best for your health, your mental health? And then we sort of transition into talking about prioritizing our time and living according to our priorities. And I love that one because I just see so many families struggling with trying to get together for like a photo session. Like, but these are the most important people in your life, and you can't, in the span of 12 months, all of you get together at the same time in the same place. That, I realize, is a real struggle, but I assume you don't like it. So if you don't like it that way, then
change it.
What can you do to change it?
Yeah, absolutely. My mom, they knew they were obviously selling their house. So what she started this last summer. So I have 5 siblings, so there's 6 of us total. So, and we're going back to the days of disposable cameras and film. So everything was developed, right? So she had bins and bins and bins and bins and bins of pictures in the envelopes, and growing up and parties and everyday stuff and school concerts and like all kinds of everything you could imagine. So starting last summer, a little bit each week, she sat down and started like putting together individual bins for each of us. And
Oh my
then
goodness.
anything that was left over, it was crazy. I've probably got a bin about yay big by like
Yeah.
this deep.
Oh my goodness.
And and then what she did with anything that, you know, was a group shot, she, as her and my dad went around visiting everyone, as they do in a month, she would bring your bin and then the big bin, and you could go through anything left over and then be like, okay, I want a copy of this, I want a copy of that, and you could take it, and then if someone else wanted it, we'd make a copy and split it up. But so by Christmas time, this is when she wanted it all done by, and we all have this bin of like 20 years of photographs of growing up, and like pictures of my older siblings holding me, because I'm second youngest, so my older siblings holding me as a baby who looks identical to my youngest daughter as a baby, which is just crazy.
Isn't that super creepy?
Oh my God, my oldest brother is 10 years older than me. So at my daughter's first birthday in April, he was holding her and he's like, I am like losing it right now. He's like, I'm literally flashing back to holding you as a baby, and now I've got your daughter. And like, it's such a cool thing. And so we were able to like do a recreation photo of me and him and Addie. So it was pretty awesome. But
Oh, that's cute. That's super cute.
yeah, it was super fun.
Sometimes the families that I photograph, they try to do a recreation photo of like, here we were when all of the grandkids were young, and here we are now that all the grandkids are almost grown, and it never really works super well because, you know, grandma and grandpa can't get down on the ground as easily as they could before, and like 3 of the grandkids were laying on top of them, you know, back in the day, but now they would crush would crush
twice
their grandparents.
the size.
Oh my goodness. And by the way, we're going to have an episode in season 2 that I think will help you out with that bin of photos.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Speaking of season 2, I wanted to go through the episodes that we're looking at doing for season 2. So we're going to start out with toddlers and teens. So we're going to talk a little bit about our families because we have some of those.
We sure do.
And while I have not raised toddlers or teens myself, I have had a reasonable amount of experience working with, you know, both from photo sessions and also having cousins and all of that.
Absolutely.
So, and you have toddlers, and your toddlers will one day be teens. So this is going to be a cautionary tale for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be. Oh,
yeah.
Good one.
Yeah. Yeah. We're also looking at an episode on separation and divorce, and I have thought about bringing in a guest for that one. I'm not honestly sure because neither of us have been divorced. Yep. But I think it's an important topic. I see the fallout of this sort of thing a lot with weddings, and I'll tell you a story now, which I'm probably going to share in that episode anyway. But I had one couple, I was photographing their wedding, and the bride had told me several times, my parents are split up. They do not like each other. They will not be in a photo together. And well, they were in a photo together, and usually parents are, because it would be super awkward to like look at the photographer who's asking you to be in a photo together with your child that you had together. It'd be weird to look at them and be like, no, I'm not doing that. So they suck it up and in silence stand on either side of the couple. So they are separated and get their photo taken together. So they did get their photo taken together. There wasn't too much awkwardness. And then here comes the reception. And the father of the bride is giving his speech. And you know how they have like kissing games and everyone wants the couple to smooch during the reception. And you can't clink your glasses anymore. So they have games for that sort of thing. So if you wanted the couple to kiss, you had to kiss someone yourself. And rather than kissing his wife, he walked up to his ex-wife / the mother of the bride and gave her one big smooch. And they had obviously planned this in advance. And the entire room was like, what just happened?
Plot twist.
The bride honestly was completely stunned. And I was just like, good parenting win. Like, that is a parenting win. Like, you guys are obviously showing that you might have screwed up a little bit with, you know, how you treated each other in front of your kids. So the fact that you're now like, you know what, guys, we're
Water
gonna
under the bridge.
we're gonna be nice to each other now. Like, that's great. And
Yeah.
So, and I experienced a bit of this myself too, because Kevin obviously has kids, and his kids are, I did not give birth to them. So there is another person in our lives. So there's a bit of that. But, you know, I also have some options for, you know, making sure that kids feel seen and heard and loved in different houses, obviously with photos. But anyway.
Awesome.
And then I'm going to have Shayna Beakspa back on the show to talk about preparing for the inevitable. So if you listened to our podcast with Shayna, you would have heard that she is a lawyer. And so we are going to talk about some of those things that you need to prepare for, but that people don't want to prepare for, because not only is it not something you want to think about, like you don't want to think about not being around anymore for your kids.
Yeah.
It's an expense. It's time out of your day. It's a real pain in the butt to deal with. However, it's a big adult thing, so we're going to talk about it, and you'll feel really good after it, because it's like doing laundry. You're adulting when you get this stuff done.
Yep, it's got to get done.
Then we're going to talk about prioritizing family decor. Because as a family photographer, I often hear people saying, well, I don't want a shrine to my family in my house. Like, it's too much. I don't want to put photos up of my family on my walls. I cannot believe how we have gotten to this place. Like, we've transitioned from family prints and albums and all that stuff all over our houses to, no, I don't put photos of my family up in my own house. And I only do digital files and I put them on Facebook. And yeah, that just doesn't work. So we're going to talk about the why of putting family photos in your family home. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I love family photos. Growing up, like, my mom's a big photo person, which
apparently,
obviously. As a kid, like, she always had a camera. Like, we had like cameras in like every room in the house. And she was always really big on displaying our photos. She takes great pride in displaying her family within her home. I think her biggest upset in moving was that they could no longer fit their piano, and the piano top was all family photos.
Oh,
and it was like, in our house, it was kind of like an inside joke. It was like a place of honor if one of your photos made the piano. It was like, oh, dang, that's a piano picture. That's a good one. Like, it was like the best of the best. And then, I mean, all over the walls and everywhere else too. But the piano, that's prime display location. So I definitely inherited that. So we have quite a few different areas in our home with family photos, and I switch them out every so often and refresh. Like, before we had kids, I had different areas that were myself as a small child with my siblings, and then my husband as a small child with his siblings, and then our engagement and wedding photos and stuff. And then I've been slowly recycling them through for pictures of our little babies. So I love it. I love looking up and seeing this hilarious or beautiful picture on the wall. And it's great, especially for the pandemic too. It was great for particularly my oldest, that I could say, that's this person, and that's, you know, your uncle, and that's your aunt, and that's your grandma, and all this. It made it easier for her to feel more comfortable than when she was able to see it, because she recognized these faces.
That is a very good point. Another byproduct of the super fun pandemic that we have now lived through. Don't you feel special for being a part of history?
Sure.
People are going to talk about this in 100 years. They're going to be like, people had to stay home for like 3 months.
Yeah. For a lot. It's crazy. Crazy.
So we are also going to talk about working on yourself for your family. There will be a lot of talk about feelings and stuff. And again, not taking things personally. And I'm going to be blatantly, like, honest with everyone. Half of these topics that we come up with are just because it's like, this is stuff I'm working on right now for myself. So I want to talk about it. So
awesome.
That's me working on myself for my family, because I'm a redhead and we rage and working on being nicer when I talk to people. I don't rage. I do not. Nikki
That
can
is so
advocate
funny.
for me that I do not full-blown rage.
No, I have never seen it. I literally have never seen it.
But she does get all of the messages where someone has emailed or called and said something, and I'll literally say, ugh. Like, ugh.
Great.
Like, I have to text that before I can text with an actual response.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah. So after that, I want to talk about creating a family photo legacy. And so that's kind of related to the family decor episode, but we're going to look at actual ways that you can display photos because, again, it doesn't have to be one giant frame photo above your fireplace kind of thing. There's lots of different things that you can do. And this one, I think, is particularly important. Like your mom, sounds like she did a pretty good job of this, where you're going to want to give these photos to people in your family. And so I've shared several times all over the place about like my grandpa. So like when my grandpa passed away, at his service, there was a ton of photos from throughout his life. And there was like, we spent the entire time standing at the front of the service, like laughing and like telling stories and stuff. Of course, I didn't have nearly as many stories as like my dad and my uncle. And so they told all sorts of stories. And you know, I learned a lot about my grandpa, and there was one photo that I really, really like, which was my grandpa sitting on the back of a bull. And I was like, what is this about? My grandpa was a farmer. I knew that. But climbing on the back of a bull is like, well, maybe actually, now that I think about it, from the stories that he used to tell us about some of the dumb stuff that he would do when he was younger, maybe this does make sense. But anyway,
makes sense.
what is this picture about? My dad just said, oh, that's right. Yeah, we had a bull that was like so quiet you could just climb on his back and ride him. So we did.
Why not?
Like, that's pretty cool. But yeah, and we're going to lose that because people don't print photos anymore. They put them on Facebook. And newsflash, Facebook isn't going to be around forever.
No.
So it's important to print photos so that you have that stuff to share with the generations after you. Like this is, I learned new stuff about my grandpa, who was around for most of my life. Things that I never knew about him because there was a photo.
Yeah.
You know? So,
absolutely.
And like, my mother's parents, I never met them, but I know what they look like. And the only reason that I do is because of printed photos. Yep. Like if they had Facebook, I wouldn't have a clue because it would be gone.
Expired. Yeah.
Their account would have expired, or it would have been private. And I wouldn't have been able to see them.
Exactly. No, it's so true.
Their password would have been lost. No one would be able to log into it. But anyway, and then we're going to talk about family time management again, because this stuff is just it's important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What are you thinking about season 2?
I'm really excited for it. I'm super excited for the work on you for your family, because I think that is so important. And that's something that when we had kids became a constant topic of conversation, especially not right away because they're newborns and they don't really do anything. You can't really impact them on much, feed them, clean them, same old. But Evelyn right now is a huge mimic, and everything that you do, she copies. So we have a lot of conversations about, and like we've had some good swear words, and she uses them in context. So like I don't even know how mad I can get, because like I agree with her. So like, what do I say? But things like, okay, we need to be very aware of how we're speaking to each other, and we need to be very aware of how we're speaking to her. And if we want her to say please and thank you, then we have to say please and thank you. And if I want you to say I'm sorry, then I have to be willing to say I'm sorry to you, or to her. And doing that internal work as an adult to make sure that I'm not putting unnecessary stresses on her, that I'm giving her room to grow and thrive and feel comfortable and safe. And as she grows into a teenager, that she doesn't want to keep dangerous secrets from me, that if she feels unsafe, she feels safe enough to come and tell me about it.
Yeah.
So making sure that I do that work and put that work in with her now and continue it. And even just keeping my own patience. I never thought I was an impatient person until I had kids. And, and it was like mind blowing. Like my husband is a redhead, limited patience, high temper, like, and it's hilarious for me that I can say, see what I've been dealing with from you? Yeah. It's with our kids now. So that's like my standing joke there. I'm like, our kids have your patience. So, yes. But that nice red hair that Evelyn has trickles all the way through. So to make sure that she has that support, but she can only have that if I do that first, right? So I'm super excited to hear what you've been doing there as well, and love printed photos, my favorite. I think I've got every single one of my siblings' wedding photos in my house. I've got pictures pictures of their kids. I've got pictures of my kids, pictures of my husband's siblings and my siblings, and I just think it makes it feel like all warm and fuzzy. Like this is our home. These are the people that we love, and this is what we want to be able to share with our family. And maybe it like circles back to like my mom growing up, but it's like if a picture of me is on one of my siblings' walls, like that makes me feel very proud that I made their wall. Like you cared enough to print off a shot of me and put it up. So I feel the love for sure.
Yeah, that's a guaranteed way to feel loved, or to make someone feel loved. That's great. Yeah. Just listening to the way that you talk about how you deal with your kids, I suspect that you do an okay job of the patience stuff. Like you definitely have your head screwed on straight. So there's that. You mentioned the swearing, and I had to write this down. Have you seen like the Instagram video or wherever it is of this like 3 or 4-year-old, and she sees a goat, and she's like pointing, and she's like, it's an effing goat, but she's saying the other word.
Yeah.
And whoever's filming, presumably her mother, so it's like, it's an effing goat. And the mother goes, no, it's just a goat.
It's just a goat.
And the girl goes, no, it's an effing goat.
Get it through your head. Oh, I love that.
And then add on to that if I remember correctly, I believe that young girl had like a British accent or something. So it just makes it sound so much better.
It does. It always does.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Makes me so happy. Let me see. So in terms of what I'm looking forward to in this coming season and also in the future. So, and I had sent this to you yesterday, I think. I am doing a personal development program next month.
Very exciting.
It's a 6-week thing with my friend Paige. I'm super excited about it. It's going to require a lot of being very honest with myself and working on myself. And so I'm looking forward to doing that, and we'll probably be talking about it.
Awesome.
Also, I'm really looking forward to talking about more like women's and girls stuff. Like we've kind of glossed over stuff with like the self-esteem episodes and talking about social media and but I have a teenage girl in my life, and the number of times that her brother and her dad say to me like, I don't understand why she is doing this, and I get to be like, well, I know.
I do. Because she's a teenage girl. That's why.
She's a teenage girl. And she has no control.
Yeah.
Control being like, she feels crummy and she doesn't know what to do with it. And I, as a female adult, when I don't know what to do with my emotions, it makes my skin crawl. Yeah. So for a teenage girl, I can only imagine. Like the emotions, I remember the emotions being completely overwhelming.
I don't know if you've ever seen the Disney, I think it's Disney Pixar, Turning Red, based in Toronto in like the early 2000s. And it's like, it's designed to be a kid's movie, and I love it. Evelyn was obsessed with it for a period of time. And it's essentially this young Chinese girl, and she's 13, and her family has this red panda curse where there's so many pent-up emotions, they just kind of turn into this red panda, and it's supposed to protect their family. So it trickles down, and she's dealing with it with her friends and whichever. And all of the aftermath comments when it first came out was like, oh, it's inappropriate, they're referencing period starting, and this girl, it's so cringy, and like young preteen teenage girls are cringy.
Yeah.
I was probably the most embarrassing person in the entire world at 13. I don't even want to talk to that girl. This movie is so accurate to how just completely out there these hormones are raging, and girls are just struggling, and everything is the end of the world, because it genuinely feels that way.
Oh my goodness.
And I think every woman that watched this was like, this is accurate, and everyone else was like, this is awful, you can't have this. Like, this is the most relatable movie I've ever seen. So anyway, it's a good watch if you want to watch it.
Do people like forget? Do women forget how painful it was to be a teenager? Like,
they must.
I think I had forgotten, and then having Kevin's daughter in my life is definitely making me be like, oh yeah, that was pretty bad. Yeah, the emotions are hard, and
it's a lot.
I did read the book Why Do Men Have Nipples once.
Okay.
And at some point in that book, this woman starts talking about, when your wife is like behaving like irrationally for a few days, or when she has appointments with women who are thinking about doing drastic things like getting divorced. She's like, I tell them to wait a few days. And like, I betcha a lot of women especially would react to that. Like, that is offensive. Like, don't chalk it all up to PMS. But I mean, when I'm PMSing, everything seems like a reality, and you feel legitimately that bad about whatever is bothering you when, a day later, you might just not feel quite as like negatively about it. And she says, I tell people to wait 3 days and then think about it again, because when you're in that space chemically, like, your brain is like, you 100% believe that the way that you feel about this right now is how bad the situation is in reality. But like another day, you might be able to just look at it like, okay, fine, let's deal with the situation. Yeah.
I can fully admit I have had conversations with my husband, and a couple days later I've been like, so got my period. And I'm very sorry.
Yes.
Let's have that one over. Like, I didn't want to say anything and then get my head bitten off. However,
good for him. Good for him.
Keep
just don't ever say it anyway. Just don't say it anyway. Just be nice and loving.
Yeah, sure, honey.
Yeah.
And then 3 days later, I'm going to apologize. So it's fine.
And then, like, don't be all, like, sarcastic and stuff about it. Like, no way. Be like, oh, okay.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I track my my menstrual cycle. And when I am feeling off, I will legitimately open up the app and be like, yeah, that's why.
2 days away. That makes sense. Yep.
I'm PMSing.
Yeah.
Everyone watch out.
Everybody just leave me alone. I'm going to go eat some ice cream. Yeah.
It's pretty much my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to talking about like women's and girls issues.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Stuff.
Yeah, it is.
We're going to help you get prepared for when your daughters are freaking out at roughly the same time, because
they will. Yep. I've warned my husband. I'm like, be prepared for us to all cycle up. So
it's happening.
Sorry about your luck. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my goodness. So I wanted to look ahead to some seasons that we have in the future, that we're sort of planning in the future. So I am planning a wedding planning season, like wedding planning post-pandemic, and I am inviting a local awesome wedding planner to help with that one.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and it's going to be not like planning your traditional wedding where you can go on to the internet and go wedding planning checklist and then plan your entire wedding that way. It's going to be looking at how to plan the wedding that you actually want to have, what you don't have to do, that sort of stuff.
Awesome.
And then we're going to do a season on business and entrepreneurship.
Perfect.
Because we both do that.
We do.
We both have businesses.
That. Yes.
And we have lots of nerdy stuff to share in that regard.
Sure do.
Speaking of nerdy shares, Do you want to share your business essential tips?
I sure do. Yeah, if you head on over to theavasolution.com, there'll be a handy pop-up to download our essential tips for the entrepreneur, where we'll walk through our favorite tips and tricks for running your business, scaling your business, keeping yourself organized, and covering your butts behind the scenes so that you can actually get the important work done and focus on your clients.
Smart.
Yes.
all the stuff that people tend not to work on.
Slips through the cracks.
I mean, why would you write an email template if you could just type out the same email over and over and over again?
Exactly, right? That's silly.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think that about does it for this recap episode.
Awesome.
Do you have a ridiculously happy moment?
My ridiculously happy moment is that this morning I successfully woke up before my children and got to drink an entire cup of hot coffee. And that was
goodness.
Lovely. Yes, that does not happen. So that was wonderful.
That does sound delightful.
It's very nice. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Getting up early or getting up early without kids so you can drink your coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, start your day without screaming.
Oh, that'd be rough. That would be rough for me, that's for sure. Like,
it's hard.
I'm a morning person, but still, that much noise in the morning, I'd be like, no.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person, and to like get myself into that zone it takes some work for sure.
Kids will make you a morning person.
You have no choice in the matter. My kids are morning people, so
well, there you go.
Yeah, early risers.
That's good for them, though. You wait until they're teenagers, and then they'll be sleeping all day. I cannot believe, like Kevin's kids, I never did this as a teenager, but they will stay asleep until you go and wake them up.
Oh my God.
Cannot believe it. Like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they will still be out cold.
That's crazy.
It shocks me. I never did that. I was like, the sun's up, I'm awake, whether I wanted to be or not.
Or not. Now my internal clock is like 6 a.m. So even if the kids sleep in by 6, I'm awake and I'm laying there and I'm up. So I'm like weekends, weekday, doesn't matter. 6 o'clock. It could be dead of winter and it's still like pitch black outside. Nope, I'm awake now. It's 6.
It's funny how we mentally want to continue sleeping, even if our body is like, no, you don't need any more.
Had enough. You're fine.
Like there's no motivation to like get up and do stuff. No joy in it. We're just like, I would like to continue sleeping, please.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, my ridiculously happy moment is that Kevin has been away for a week at Killarney, running around like a maniac.
Oh.
I mean, literally. Not like a weirdo. He's been running. He's been in Killarney running. And he is home now. So he got home yesterday.
Nice. That's exciting.
And he picked up his daughter on the way home. And I took Bruce outside. And Bruce was just like, oh my God.
Oh, my family's back.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's the cutest.
He's such a suck. So he was like, no, I can't believe I thought you guys didn't exist anymore. What happened? But anyway.
Livestock dogs are the best.
I know.
The best.
Like we keep saying this, but like, I mean, you have to have some experience with dogs because they're not going to listen to you. So
no, they're very stubborn.
Yeah, but like if you get the right one, they're such
that's true
sweethearts. And yes,
this morning, Addison, who is 16 months old, crawled over to Kane's food dish, and Kane follows her everywhere, and hand fed him his kibble. So if you think that they're aggressive, they're like,
oh yeah.
When I tell you this dog is imprinted on my kids, like one kibble for you, like literally pincered kibble to them. Yeah.
There's this one Instagram profile that you got to check out if you're interested in guardian dogs, and it'll show you pretty well the difference between guardian dogs and other breeds, because they have livestock and they have guardian dogs and they have herding dogs, and the guardian dogs will walk through the livestock and the livestock just think that they're fantastic because they're a part of their herd. And like a border collie will walk through the herd and everyone's like, ah, like, run!
He's hurting us. He wants us to move. Where did he go?
But the goats are like bouncing off of the guardian dogs, like stepping all over them. And the guardian dog is just like, this is my life.
Aww.
I love them. And I am a big fan of independent pets because it makes my life so much more easy. So much more easy. Nikki, if you are able, where can people find you?
I am on Facebook and Instagram at The Ava Solution and online at theavasolution.com.
Wonderful. I meant to mention in this episode that we have periodically had visits from children, and that's going to continue happening, and we're all going to be okay with it. And I am Sophia Lemon, and I photograph ridiculously happy people, and you can find me on Instagram at ridiculously happy people, and that's PPL, also on Facebook and Pinterest, and at sophialemon.com. And we invite you to join our Facebook community at Ridiculously Happy People, and again, that is PPL. Thank you for making the time to listen to this episode. We hope you feel inspired to live a little more kindly, more confidently, and more ridiculously happy. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review in your podcast app of choice. Your feedback is so important to us in helping us spread this ridiculously happy movement. And remember that happiness is contagious, so whom you know who is busy, very busy, share the show with them and help them slow down for just a few minutes. And you can find the shareable links in the show notes. And thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.